Hey guys, welcome back to DMAC Customs on the YouTube. Dave here, the garage, Area 51. Back on it. Seam sealing. Let's get at it. Okay, so as possibly I've discussed, most likely have, in previous videos, I want to do a bit of seam sealing around the drip rails and be doing a bit around in here on the guards, a little bit on the inside and inner guards and in the door jambs before we put this into primer, you know, the high build primer. Okay, so I debated about what order to do this, like with the seam sealer and stuff, and I've been thinking about it during the week, and I remembered with my Plymouth, my 65 Fury that I did, and I think I did it with my Naro as well. I can't really remember with that. It was quite a number of years ago. I did the seam sealer at this, like in the drip rails and stuff, at this kind of epoxy stage rather than the high build pre-paint stage, because the high build will kind of flush it out, flow it out a little bit. I'm going to be quite delicate with how I put it in these visible places anyway, because I don't want big kind of goopy seam sealer things, you know, showing. So we'll seam seal all up on these, on the underside of this drip rail as well, right down through here. But I'll mask all that off, whereas on in these fenders and that here, in this area here, I'll just brush it down, and same around the inside of the doors. They'll just get a bit of a brush down and a bit of a rub with the old finger, I think. But yeah, so it's pretty straightforward, but I'm going to go around with a bit of Scotch-Brite and on some of this grey primer that we put on last week, just in those areas for now, before we do the final sand, which will be after the seam sealer has gone on and dried. That's my plan anyway, so let's do it. Not really that much to do, but it's just going to be quite time consuming to sort of do it neatly. I know a lot of people use caulking guns and tubes of seam sealer and whatnot, but I haven't got any of that. I've got some brush on seam sealer that I've used before and I know how it works, so I'm going to stick with that and do it the slow way. Don't want to get any moisture in these little gaps, you know, like after it's painted. I also didn't want to fill them up with Bondo and stuff like that, you know, because you know, Bondo's kind of porous, if anything gets behind it. I just didn't want that moisture getting sucked into the body filler that's filling these up, you know what I'm saying. Alright, so that's the scuffing up of all that stuff done. I just got to do a bit down in these inner parts of the guard down here. There's a bit of pitting in that down there I haven't done anything about, but that'll be addressed maybe, if I remember. All this area gets hidden by the headlight trim, but I still want to kind of seal it up, if you know what I'm saying, so the water that might make its way in there doesn't get in there and get into the gap and just sit there doing bad watery things. So I'll just finish up that. Okay, so that's about all the masking I've got to do. It's nothing too radical. I just don't want to get too much on the outside of this drip rail. I'm not fussed about getting it, you know, down into the drip rail too much. I'll be able to brush that out. It is slightly sandable too once it's fully cured, this stuff. So, you know, if I have to, I can sand off any little bits. Oh, there it is there. Look at that. That kind of get splashed around the place that I don't want splashed around the place, if you know what I mean. So, got my seam sealer, see, brush on, rec coat stuff. Actually not the stuff I thought I'd used before, so hopefully it's all good. I have used it on this before. I think I might have used it when I got to the inner floor, maybe. I can't remember now. I had this other water-based one that I used on all the underside, but that was just a purchase I made during the COVID period that I bought online, and it was okay, but it was a bit kind of weird to use. So I've gone back to this kind of solvent-based one. I think it is anyway. It cleans up in lacquer thinners. So just got to find a brush and let's get into it. Okay, so just done the two guards, just kind of the quick easy sort of stuff. You'll see I just kind of did a final sort of wipe along that edge. That's just to take the kind of raised bit off, just so it flushes down a bit smoother once the other primer and that goes on there. A lot of this stuff that is quite well sort of hidden, I haven't been too kind of hard out on the masking, and that side actually masked up nicer than the other side, but it's just to seal that stuff up. But by the time you actually get primer and paint and all that sort of stuff on there, it actually flushes out quite nicely. There were a couple of bits I don't think I seam sealed on this when I did all the inner guards. I can't remember, like in that pocket back there, there was a couple of welds where I welded up a couple of holes on the bottom that I don't think I seam sealed, so I just got those. And there was a repair in here that was done at some point. I didn't do this, but someone did, and I don't think I'd seam sealed that. So I like to seam seal behind all repairs, and where I can get into any of these pockets in here where there's potentially kind of raw metal on raw metal and potential for road grime and water and stuff to sit in there and kind of slowly eat away all your hard work. I've seen some kind of high-end hot rods and restorations and stuff kind of come apart because repairs haven't been sealed up properly from the inside. And I'm not the best or an expert in any stretch, but if I kind of believe my logic is if you can seal it up all around, inside, outside, everywhere you can get to the best you can, that gives that repair or that modification or, you know, roof chop or extended quarters, whatever, the best kind of chance they have to not just blow out in a year and a half sort of thing. This car is probably not likely to see the weather the same way that it did when it was new. Hopefully we might end up living in it yet. But yeah, so like that's why I kind of go around and seam seal all these things. Certain areas like this I'm not going to mask off all around the doors, because they didn't from factory. I don't know whether this car was ever seam sealed like this, but like cars I've done in the past have had a factory seam sealer around that lap, and they were never particularly tidy sort of thing. And my vision for this car is kind of like a factory custom, if that makes sense. So I'm quite happy to have visible seam sealer through the paint, if you know what I'm saying. I don't want it super smooth and polished and looks like it's made out of plastic and stuff like that. I want to still see these factory imperfections or whatever, you know, like, well, they're not imperfections, but factory construction parts. I just want to sort of stop moisture being able to get into, you know, like that. There's little kind of pinhole-y things. Those are the things I want to clean up. Plus this little bit here, this is all part of the roof chop that I never actually finished up that nice, but the seam sealer will hide that. Same down here, you know, this is all factory edging down here. I just want to make sure that that's all sort of sealed up so moisture doesn't get stuck in there. And then when we've finished the car, I'll get inside the door, clean it all out. I mean, this has been seam sealed here where there's a patch panel was put in on the inside. I've already seam sealed that, but once this is all done, we'll get in here and we'll spray all this and with stuff. Anyway, I'm going to go and have a cup of coffee, and then we'll get in to these doors and door jambs. Yeah, Joyce. Okay, so working, just starting in here now. The brush I'm using is actually an old Oxen Sable lettering brush. It's pretty worn for lettering, more for poster work than anything. Not really a kind of high-end finished lettering brush anyway. In the past I've used, you know, like acid brushes and stuff, and they're pretty kind of rugged, and but they work. I've also used like artists' finches of all things, because that's all I had at one point. And they actually work quite good, quite stiff, quite hard wearing. Whereas this actually works kind of a bit nicer. I don't know whether it's the difference between this seam sealer and the previous stuff I've used or what, but I wonder what trim covers up over here. I actually don't know. So I didn't pull this car apart, so I've just got the job of putting it back together and trying to figure it out. Get rid of that now. Throw this on the floor so I can stick to my shoes. Find it later. Should I give that a... No, that'll... I can take the edge off that when I sand it. Choice. Right, what else have I got to do? Do down that edge. Okay, so that's it done. I've been round and done on the other side. I didn't actually film that because it's kind of like the same as what I did on that side, but I'll kind of give you a little show anyway. So yeah, that's that kind of little pinch bit of material there, all seam sealed up in here. A bit looser, but I will give that a bit of a scuff as well. It skins off really fast. You can paint over it almost immediately, but this is going to get left to dry, so when we do the final sand in these areas, we'll kind of just flatten off any little nibs and stuff like that. But like I said before, I don't mind seeing brush strokes in it. I kind of like that look. It looks a little more authentic. I see, it's just a personal preference thing. Some builds and hot rods and stuff, you see they're just so smoothed out that they don't look like they're made from metal anymore. If that makes sense. I know this is just kind of a weird, I don't know, kind of mindset I've got. I don't know whether other people feel the same way or not. I've never really had that discussion, I don't think, but yeah, it's just kind of too smoothed out, like in all the jams and all those kind of areas where you would see factory stuff that, factory laps and things like that. When they're completely gone, it just, I don't know, loses something. That's just my opinion anyway. So I like to see those brush strokes and stuff in the seam sealer, and I like to put seam sealer in these, lap joints, like all around the doors and stuff like that, just to kind of lock them down a little bit more if possible. Possibly it traps water in there, I don't really know, but like I was saying, this is probably not going to spend a lot of time out in the weather, other than getting caught out a few times and maybe a few runs in the rain, but not going to be living out in the weather, hopefully. Yeah, so that's it, all seam sealed. I was going to kind of make that the whole video. That's my little brush I used, but it didn't actually take as long as I thought it was going to. So we might continue this video with sanding. Yeah, so I might start going around the outside of everything, giving it the final whoop-de-woo all around the outside. I'm gonna pick this up, distracted. Yeah, kind of go around the outside and start sanding all the exterior stuff, get it ready for high build. Yeah, so I'm just going to go over the whole thing again with maybe just some 320. I think that should be enough just to flatten it down, take any sort of 150 scratch marks out of it, and yeah, get it ready. And I've got to get the fender skirts out too. I'll do that right now because they've got to get prepped up and primed as well at the same time. So that's one. They're already in a different brand of epoxy, or different type. They're in DP40. Bring them out there, just put that there for now. I didn't actually do any filler work on these. I've still got to smooth them out. Maybe we'll do that next. A little bit of seam sealing I want to do in these as well, while I'm seam sealing things, before I do the old smooth out on the outside. We might as well do that while we're here, you know what I'm saying? I thought these were actually pretty straight, but at closer inspection there's a lot of little dings and dents and stuff in them, so I'll give them a bit more of a skim than I was intending. So I might just skim the whole things and then just start blocking them back and see where that gets me. A bit more work involved than I thought there was going to be on these, but that's all good. That's just how it is, you know. I might just pull these back a little bit so I can run that fill around the corner. Alright, need some Bondo, some spreaders, and yeah, let's do it. This one here is not quite as ripply and beat up looking when you see it in the light, but I'll probably give it a bit of a full skimmage as well. Back on the steel spreaders, because someone commented a while back when I was doing the bulk of the bodywork that, you know, steel spreaders are better, and stick with it. Round the corners, so I've rounded the corners, and yeah, so I thought I'd give them another run on this now that we're through most of the bodywork and see how they go. And yeah, to be fair, so far looking pretty good. My biggest issue is bubbles in my Bondo, slime, mud, whatever you want to call it. And this particular brand of, or type of bog, which is a U-pole, I seem to get way more pinholes in it than I do with the other brand I was using, or the other type, another U-pole one, U-pole Dolphin. I was having quite a good time with that, but they didn't have any last time I needed some, and so I got some of this U-pole Fantastic, and I don't really find it that fantastic. Could just be user error, quite likely. I have seen reports other folk having similar issues with it that I have, so could just be all of us or just me. I don't know what that means. Just talking now for the sake of talking, so you guys don't have to endure another 4-hour long time lapse. Okay, so lots of sanding, lots of highs and lows, more than I actually thought. I thought I'd got that pretty straight in steel, but nah. Wishful thinking. Maybe it was straight compared to other things. Anyway, got a visit from a neighbour I haven't met before, so that was all cool. I'll just scrape that back before it goes off. Just take some of this edge down. Okay, just take some of the edge down so, you know, I'm not taking too much of the material I want to keep off. So I'm going to go and have some lunch, let that really cure up. While I was waiting for that to cure up before, I got into going over that front fender with the old 320. So that's that pretty much ready to shoot in primer. So yeah, so come back from lunch and we'll carry on sanding this thing and see how they come up. So back soon. Skim coat sanded, and they're just about there. Just a few little like pinholes, not even really pinholes, it was just like a little divot that I left out there, and a couple of little low spots. But yeah, the high build will, I've just got to wait for that to cure and then I'll sand that, and then the high build will take care of that business. But yeah, they're coming up alright, I think. Hard to tell till we get some colour on them or whatever. But yeah, gonna go and hang out with my little grandson for a little bit, and my daughter, and my wife, but my grandson anyway. So yeah, we'll go and do that and then come back, sand those up, and then yeah, might just carry on sanding up the rest of the fenders and car and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so just give them these little bits of fine filler, bit of a seam too. Now that I've finished having a little playtime with the old grandson, played trains, that was cool, and played cars, that's cool. He's only just over a year old, so it's kind of a little one-sided, but he's getting there. Okay, so that's those fender skirts all kind of smoothed out somewhat. Hopefully all good. They feel pretty good and they look pretty good when you can get your eyeballs up in there close. So that might be it for today. Run out of day, I have to say. So I might just pack up and put things away for today. Maybe I could sand that other front fender. What's the time? It's getting pretty cold. So yeah, I might just put the old bomb truck away and move all this stuff around and get back at it tomorrow. Morning guys, it's the following day. I've already been in and started sanding back all this side, all down into 320, which will hopefully not be too fine for my primer to stick to. Should be alright. I didn't want to run the risk of cutting through into bare metal in too many places, so I was trying to keep it a little bit finer. Been bleeding, and so yeah, just gonna carry on. Combination of blocks and hand sanding. Also this flexible block that I got, I found it didn't suck up the dust all that well, so I made some modifications to it. Drilled a whole bunch of extra holes in it and taped up the flexi bits with just some good old-fashioned duct tape, and that's improved it untold. So if you're buying one of those off Temu or Wish or whatever, that's a good little hack for that particular block if you want to use it for flex, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, flexing it around things, and the tape flexes with it. Know what I'm saying? Choice, eh? But yeah, so I'm just going to carry on, keep sanding while I'm motivated to do it. It's a kind of quite cathartic kind of experience. Just chuck some headphones in and just go for it. And yeah, dusty job though. trying to stay clean and sort of cleaning as I go, sort of trying to vacuum up as much dust with the blocks that I'm using, but then there's some hand sanding where it's unavoidable, you gotta make dust, and so I'm just vacuuming it up, cleaning as I go, so I don't have big piles of it and I don't traipse it all through the house, which is the problem of having a house with an internal access garage, is that you you take all your car stuff upstairs with you. Anyway, carry on. Let's do that one more. Hey guys, well, that's it, all rubbed back, including the fender skirts and the fuel flat cover thingy bob over there, into 320. Something I learned from this is that when you think you've kind of got things smoothed out and scratches flushed out and stuff like that, you haven't. Like, I found so much scratches and pits and stuff like that, like sanding scratches and things, like through this process of going through it over it again. It's just not funny. Oh, a little bit funny, but on the whole it's sort of flushed out quite nicely. This door is the worst door, so I'm just probably gonna have to load it up with high build primer and hope for the best. But it kind of same with the fenders and the roof and everywhere pretty much that I've been. My little makeshift garage plaster didn't hold up. Like, tiny little cut from the edge of the sandpaper just gave me a boo-boo. That shit's real sharp. Like, this finer grit stuff, just a word of warning, if you're kind of laying that onto your block, be careful when you kind of like sweep it down, like push it down, because this edge on the paper is like, it's like razor blades, man. It just whipped into that finger skin just like that. But anyway, so that's where we're at for now, and it's been a lot of sanding. Well, that's it for this video. It's kind of gone on long enough. It's gonna be, I haven't done any editing of it on it. Oh, I can't even talk. Haven't done any editing on it obviously yet, because it's all still on you guys on the camera. But it's probably going to be another bit of time lapse, and there might be some tomfoolery and stuff, but mostly just sanding, time lapse, seam sealing stuff. We got the seam sealing done, so that was a win, and all that sanding. So we're moving forward. So, but anyway, that's where we're going to leave this video. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Even if you've been watching for a while and you're not sure whether you subscribe, go and have a check for us, please, and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notifications bell if you want to get notified and find out when the videos are dropping and stuff like that. Also, we're on Instagram and Facebook under DMAC Custom. Links are in the description if you're interested in that. As always, thanks for watching. Subscriber numbers are creeping up, and I've got a lot of good sort of regular followers and supporters of the channel, which is awesome. Kind of quite humbling to think that some guys on the other side of the planet are kind of interested in watching this idiot bumble his way through his projects and his, what I thought was a big garage, but turns out it's quite a small garage when you're pulling cars to bits completely. Yeah, it is quite humbling to know that there's people that are interested, and they come back every week and watch the videos, watch the progress on the old Area 51 and the old bomb truck when it was getting its temporary refresh engine. I still haven't done anything with that 383 yet, so Sunday traffic. I'll have to get onto that. I've got to get that to a machine shop and get them to mic it all up and have a look and see what's salvageable and what's not, and have a look at that new block, see whether that's any good. But yeah, so humbled. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take it easy and peace.